Let's talk about anger. Many people have this ideal image in their head of a peaceful monk who's meditating and nothing can bother them. And you think to yourself, man, with how crazy the world is, I'd like to be like that. I'd like to be calm and undisturbed. But let's say you're meditating just like Yoda, and someone steals every dollar to your name, and then someone blows up your house. How many of you would leap out of that meditative state and get angry? I probably would. But let's say you're really committed and hard to break. You're determined to not be angry at all costs. What then if someone threatens someone you love, and the only way to prevent them is to get emotionally involved and fight? Maybe then the rest of you stragglers would get angry. So look, even if we can work towards being a more carefree person in general, there should still be some limits to that peace. There should be situations where you drop the ukulele, get up, and get mad. But what then is the right amount of anger to have? Thankfully, our boy Aristotle has a couple of words on the topic. So it's been a while since the last Aristotle video. So in order to get a general sense of what the Nicomachean ethics is about, you might want to check out these 3 videos. But for the purposes of our little talk on anger, just know that Aristotle sees virtuous character traits as being the mean between 2 extremes. For example, we may say that the virtue of bravery is the mean in between being cowardly on one side and being reckless on the other. Now this isn't a hyper-scientific, specific mathematical formulation, and it is very context dependent. The situation will demand the correct level of bravery in the correct way. Now with that out of the way, how does this apply to anger? So there's an excess of anger and a deficiency of anger, but the right amount of anger is what Aristotle calls calmness. The person who is angry at the right things and towards the right people, and also in the right way, at the right time, and for the right length of time, is praised. This then will be the calm person, if calmness is praised. Being calm to Aristotle means to let reason guide your anger. You should be undisturbed if your anger is solely based on feeling. But if it is reasonable to be angry, then you should be angry in the correct way for the correct amount of time. Now some of you may object to this attempt to inject reason into an area so feelings-based as anger. But look back at the times that you or other people have been angry. In hindsight, could you recognize that maybe you or the other person were being a little unreasonable? And perhaps maybe there were times where your anger was warranted. Sure, it's not exact, but it is possible to have this rough divide in your mind between reasonable anger and unreasonable anger. And hey, the next time you're angry, why not take a step back and really question the reasonableness of your anger? Now it should be noted that this calmness tends to lead towards the deficiency of anger side. Because again, this isn't some super specific scientific formula. So if you're kinda on the fence about the correct amount of anger, try leaning towards the less angry side of the spectrum. And he seems to err more in the direction of deficiency, since the calm person is ready to pardon, not eager to exact a penalty. So after all this, you still may be confused as to what unreasonable anger might look like, and for that we should examine the types of anger associated with the excess. There are 4 types of excessively angry people that Aristotle identifies, and we could look at these characters for hints as to what unreasonable anger is. First we have the irascible person. These are people who get really mad, really fast at the wrong people. However, they also back down quickly, so that's a plus. These people are emotional roller coasters, ready to rise and descend within minutes. But a quick rise to anger might mean that you really haven't had the time to think about it rationally, so your anger could be unreasonable. Secondly, we have the choleric person. This is just the irascible person, except they don't seem to quickly back down. They rise to anger quickly and stay angry. This is probably the worst place to be. Thirdly, we have the bitter person. If you're passive aggressive, then this is probably you. Bitter people are hard to reconcile and stay angry for a long time, since they contain their angry spirit. These people don't lash out immediately, they bottle it in and let it brew in them. Then they exact some sort of grand revenge plan in their mind to inflict some sort of pain on the person, and they won't be satisfied until they feel that the person has been hurt. Or in some cases, that isn't even enough, and they'll forever be bitter at that person. Now if we're being real, I'd rather be the first person, the irascible person, rather than the bitter person, because at least it's over and done with quick, whereas the bitter person holds it in for a long time. It's like choosing between a quick but painful pinch rather than a mosquito bite that irritates you for a long time. And finally, we have our fourth person, the complainers. These people complain about the wrong things and don't feel relief until the other person has either been penalized or corrected. To me, this is kind of like the internet person, where we may not know the person on the other end of the screen, but if they do something we don't like, we want them to either suffer some penalty or correct themselves. This kind of sounds like the cancel culture mob, which does vary in terms of severity of the incident in question, but oftentimes can turn into an angry call for something to be done to correct this grave injustice perpetuated by a stranger on the internet. So if you find yourself falling into one of these categories, here's how you might fix this. When you notice you're angry, take a step back and view yourself almost from a third-person perspective. If I were someone else, would I view my anger as reasonable? Start questioning the motives and the situation. And look, I may be dumb, but I'm not naive. I know you'll obviously be in this hyper-emotional state, which may make it hard to take that step back. And if that's the case, then at least ask a friend to be completely honest about their interpretation on the reasonableness of your anger. If you have any other suggestions for determining the reasonableness of your anger, then share them in the comments below. Alright, I gotta play through Persona 3 Portable, so I'm gonna let you go. If you enjoyed the video, then like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And with that, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day.